Welcome to Your Career Podcast, the podcast that helps to ensure your career success. To start getting on track with your career, download my free career goals calendar from thecareersacademy.online. My goals calendar includes a SMART goals template and a weekly tasks sheet that will ensure step by step you get closer to reaching your career goals. So download my goals calendar today at thecareersacademy.online. Now on with the show.
If people can understand what makes them happy, and if people put themselves first from a nurturing point of view, a lot of us are brought up in life to be of support to others and help others. And one thing I've seen is people try to help others but make themselves more exhausted. So if you nurture yourself first and be focused on your well-being first, you're going to be much more effective in helping others. So you have to be ruthlessly selfish to be awesomely selfless.
I'm very excited to introduce Geoff Martin, who is an energetic, positive, and inspirational executive leader, executive and career transition coach who can positively turn any downside, whether business or personal, into blue sky and value. Geoff's experiences range from HR director of an ASX-listed human services company and senior HR roles in the insurance and banking industries. He's led national HR teams, supporting client groups of over 2,000 employees, and he's worked with leaders including board chairmen, board remuneration and selection committees, CEOs, and C-suite executives. Geoff works with his clients to take a holistic approach in how each role aligns to important lifestyle, family, values, and well-being goals. This is Geoff's professional purpose that has developed from his lived experience of surviving a near-death illness and his subsequent career transformation, not only in productivity and quality, but importantly, in happiness, well-being, and whole of life. Now, as we record this episode, Geoff has a fabulous Transforming Self workshop on the 16th and 17th of March 2024 in Sydney, and I'll be telling you more about that later. So now let's welcome Geoff to the show. Hi, Geoff.
Hi, Jane. Thank you for that intro. But actually, I don't know if I'm more excited just to be talking with you, with Jane Jackson, who has talked to so many interesting people. So I'm really honoured to be here today. Thank you for that kind intro. And thank you for letting me speak with you.
We've known each other for many years now, and I've
Yeah.
always admired your work. And as career coaches together, what we do is support others. And you've gone through such a major life transforming experience as well as career transitions over the years that it's just wonderful to be able to talk to you, and you can share your story as well, because this podcast is all about career transitions, life transitions, how you can reinvent yourself, and you've done that really well. So how about let's kick this podcast off, as I always do, with my very first question. Way back when you were a little boy, what were your early career aspirations?
Yeah, thank you. Wow. Look, I think as a kid, I always wanted to work with people. I didn't quite know what that was, but using the human interaction skills, I didn't really know exactly what technical skill that would be. And probably right up until university, that was still the case until I chose a course.
Okay. And so no dreams of being Batman or an elephant, as one of my, my guests once,
Look,
once
I mean,
said.
we're all influenced by our parents,
Mm.
and my father worked for the one organisation for 37 years, Dulux Paints, and he was uh, a an industrial chemist.
Mm.
And I realise now, and I realise the impact he had on my life was he worked at one place. He's very loyal, he was hardworking, and he did a good job. So I aspired to be like my father.
Mhm, mhm.
And I thought I might be a painter one day. And actually, funny thing is, I ended up doing university and school holidays as a storeman and packer at Dulux Paints. I've still got my overalls and my
Mhm.
safety boots that I use when I mow the lawns from
Mhm.
82 and 85.
Mhm. Oh, fantastic. And so how did your career begin then?
Look, my career was actually took a real turn when I was lucky enough to be an exchange student at age 16 for a year in Japan. And I picked
Okay.
up the Japanese skill set and learnt the language really well, came back, did 3-unit Japanese, blitzed it, I loved the language. And then after my HSC, I decided to go back to, again, when I still wasn't 100% sure, go back to Japan on working holiday. For 1 year, I worked in the Tokyo region for a year, mainly uh, bars, pub restaurant, and in a department store selling steak or bento boxes, lunches. And
Yum.
again, that really enhanced my skills. And I came back knowing I wanted to do an Asian Studies degree at the Australian National University, majoring in Japanese and some sort of a commercial. So I did an economics sub-major or economic history sub-major. And at that stage, I thought, you know what, foreign affairs and trade is what I want to do, or trade with Japan.
Mhm.
So I didn't quite make the cut for DFAT, Department of Foreign Affairs and Trade, but I ended up being picked up after university by the Commonwealth Bank for my Japanese language skills, and went into corporate banking. I had a choice of corporate banking or working for Deborah Hazleton, who's now the chair of AMP, as a Japanese speaking sidekick in financial markets. And there's a sliding window moment where I think if only I'd worked for Deborah Hazleton, but I've had a really good, interesting career. And, I still have a little bit of contact with Deborah Hazleton, who's very good Japanese, and she's run AMP really well since.
Mm.
And thank goodness she came to the helm of AMP, because it's back to being a great place again.
Yeah. So interesting hearing about how the Japanese culture has influenced you so much and what prompted that love of all things Japanese or Asian?
I, as again, a young boy at primary school. So going back to your boy story, two of
Mm.
my best friends at different times were Japanese boys who parents, in those days, fathers were working on a 4-year secondment as an executive. So I became best friends with some Japanese guys. They went back to Japan. We became pen pals. And I said, I'll come and visit you one day. And my local high school, Clara High School, I will say the name, had Japanese and the most amazing teacher, Pamela Carpenter,
Mhm.
who I'm still good friends with today. So she changed my life, and I'm still in good contact with. It's one of those great school teacher moments.
Oh,
I pay
and
homage to her.
yeah, the Japanese culture is just so beautiful and so gracious, isn't it? And they've got such a long history too. I
Yeah,
absolutely love it because I know in your most recent work you talk about Ikigai a lot,
yes.
and I'm a firm believer in following those principles too. But we'll discuss that in a little while. So from
Yeah,
CBA, they snapped you up because of your linguistic ability, which
yeah.
is fabulous, because it was a great value add, wasn't it? And
Mm.
so, what was your role at the CBA, and then how did that progress?
Look, in those days, they had 4-year graduate programs. So I went through the 4 years of learning retail lending, then corporate lending, more with a trade finance background, so specialists in documentary credits and trade finance lines, foreign exchange, etc.
Mm.
And my first job out of the graduate program was I was credit assessment manager for the Asia Pacific banks. So helped with the dealing rooms and whatnot and trade finance with what sort of credit lines would have in place. And they were the days of the growing where China was growing with its banks and India was growing with its banks, and taking risk assessments of different geopolitical risks as well as independent bank risks. It's a fabulous job,
Mm.
and I actually missed the language skills, so I learned how to become a banker, right? But ultimately, CBA was winding back its Japan presence, and I saw a job in the Sydney Morning Herald, manager, Japanese business, commercial banking, Westpac, and applied for it.
Ah. Okay, and so you moved on, still leveraging that extra something that you've got that
But I
makes
actually
you
got
stand
to
out.
use my language skills on the job, and I had a portfolio of something like 50 to 60 large Japanese corporates, all of which are household names, which we've
Mhm.
probably got in our houses we drive. And I did business with Japanese and Aussie executives because a lot of the local people were Aussie executives as well as the Japanese on secondment for 3 to 4 years.
Mm.
And again, learned how to lend in a corporate sense. And I ended up, my portfolio was merged into the institutional bank. So I was manager Asian business at Westpac Institutional Bank.
Mm.
just before the Asian financial crisis.
Yeah. So you developed a really solid understanding of banking and bankers and financial services. So help me connect the dots because now you run your own business. So you're an entrepreneur. You're also an excellent career coach and you run the Think Big Careers. So how did the transition go from CBA, Westpac to coaching and your own business now?
Look, it was circumstances and adapting and seeing that things were going to be different and thinking about what next for me. And with the financial shocks in Asia, I could see that we were cutting back our lending lines to our Asian corporates. And I took the opportunity to work as a chief of staff for a general manager in Westpac. And doing that role, I learned a whole lot of new skills. I learned doing budgets. I managed a team of 3 or 4 people, including Y2K and Westpac Institutional Bank's Olympic sponsorship. All sorts of skills I just learned. And I did a lot of everything and loved that. And then from that, I learned a lot more about the HR side, being close to my general manager's HR person, Caroline.
Mhm.
Thank you for having an impact on me. And after 2 years in that, I was asked to do a procurement project in reducing 280 recruitment suppliers down to a panel of 8 for HR for a general manager. And then after that project finished and I got to meet the whole HR community in Westpac,
Mm.
the GM said, Geoff, why don't you come and join the HR team? And I said, Amanda, I don't know much about HR. It's interesting. I love dealing with people. So don't worry. You've got great business acumen. My team have great HR. We need a little bit more balance of business acumen and we can teach you everything else.
Mm.
And I took that leap of faith. And my learning from all of this is quite often other people have to approach you and tell you you're good at something, otherwise you don't realize and you keep doing the same thing. So my leaps in career were often prodded by other people. And then I backed myself and took a risk
Yeah.
as opposed to really proactively looking for the next gig.
Mhm.
So quite often people had to tap me on the shoulder and say, you'd be really good at doing this.
Mm. You're so lucky to have someone who was able to really see that you had such a great attitude to your work and you were talented in your area. And I always think it's so true when you hire someone, if you hire them for attitude, as you said, Caroline said, we can teach you that because
Mm.
that's a new area. She knew that you would embrace something new and something different, and you obviously had the skill sets, the leadership skills to be able to, and the self-leadership skills to be able to make that transition. And so when you transitioned into HR, did you find it was a steep learning curve or did you just fall into it with gay abandon?
Look, I say now to clients when we talk about career, I found my calling. So it
Yeah.
really was that most thing that's connected in my career.
Mm.
And and that was going to take many different forms since the year 2000. It's now
Mm.
2024, so 24
Yeah.
years of growth since then.
Mm.
I found my calling. It was tough because I was working with HR specialists and I asked lots of dumb questions all the time, but they were very supportive. Some days I annoyed him with my questions, and after time, I got the confidence that I could back myself and do it.
Mm.
But it was hard doing the transition from one skill to another. But persistence and backing yourself and asking for help is absolutely critical. And a lot of us don't like to ask for help. That would be my recommendation. Ask for help.
Mm. And you had a very strong HR career, yes, which
Mm.
has put you in a fantastic position to be an excellent career coach too. So was that the next step from human resources to coaching?
That's correct. I mean, I did go into, after my career in banking, of which 12 was in HR, I worked for a publicly listed company called Connect as
Mhm.
the HR director.
Mhm.
We were bought off the ASX and into a bigger company, whilst the brand still remains. A lot of us senior executives were retrenched. And at that point, after what I feel like reaching close to a pinnacle in HR, I really had to reassess what was next for me. And part of that was because of a near death experience from an illness.
Yeah.
And taking that into account, I pivoted.
Mm. And so what exactly happened and what went through your mind and how did you make this pivot? I know that's lots of questions all in one
Yeah,
go, but it was a big change, wasn't it? So let's hear
yeah.
that story, Geoff.
Well, if I literally ask your question, what went through your mind, Geoff? What actually went through my mind, my brain, was a viral infection called encephalitis, and it
Mm,
was herpes simplex 1 went through my mind, through my
mm,
brain. It's a
mm,
cold sore virus that rarely, but when your resistance is low, can get through your blood-brain barrier. It's pretty rare. Today is World Encephalitis Day, and I'm doing some interviews with the media today to raise awareness of when a virus gets into your brain from a cold sore, from shingles, from chicken pox, which is why chicken injections are so important for
mm,
chicken pox, and from the Japanese encephalitis virus, which has arrived in Australia by mosquito. You need to get seen by ER very quickly when your brain starts to swell. My brain swelled whilst my brain was fighting the virus. When I was finally diagnosed on my third admission, my brain was so swollen, I actually had a major cerebral hemorrhage, like a stroke, but didn't necessarily go into a coma, which was lucky. And they treated me with acyclovir, which is the same ingredient as Virax for the old good old cold sore, and that helped kill the virus. I was off work for 4 months because of a damaged brain injury from
mm,
a virus. I went back to work when I graduated, returned to work 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 days a week over a 6 month period. Very supportive environment. Homage to my CEO, Damien, who was
mm,
very supportive of me and all those around me. And I'm not back to my full capacity, but I'm feeling the new norm. I'm very strong, very happy, at peace, and very productive. So through the illness and trauma, I realised I have to slow down. I have to think more. I have to think more of whole of life and holistically, not just the job.
mm,
And ironically, the fact that I've got an injured brain and I've got epilepsy as a result, which I'm controlling very well with medication. I haven't had any repeats since they put me onto the
mm.
medication. Um, my life and my professionalism is gone to the next level of productivity, despite the fact that I've only got 3/4 of a brain.
Mm. You know, it's amazing because it definitely makes you think when you have such a huge experience in your life. One thing you think about, your mortality as well, and then you tend to think about, well, what is the point of all of
Mm,
this, and why am I here, and what is the legacy that I'm to leave? So you must have had a bit of an epiphany when you went through, such a traumatic experience, and
mm,
honestly, to see you now, you look 100%. You speak 100%,
mm.
and everything that you do is always really admirable, which is why I had to get you on the show. Um, and so for you now, what are the things that have shifted as a result of this experience for you?
Look, at that stage, the sale of the company gave me an opportunity to consider what my next career move was.
Mm,
And I chose to, at this stage in my life, go down a career portfolio. So I would, rather than work with everything in one role, all the good and the bad, which was a great role, I would be more selective of picking more of what I like doing the most more of the time.
mm,
So as a career coach, as a facilitator, HR consultant, I've got 3 or 4 different businesses or income streams coming all at once.
mm,
And I'm a lot more selective about what I accept. And when I go and do a role, I'm there 100% with heart and mind, despite having a little bit less capacity. So my productivity's gone up so
mm,
much. So it's being very picky and choosy about picking the best work I can do
mm.
most of my time.
Mm. And don't you think that's really important too for all of us, is to do the sort of work that really makes us happy? Because life is too short to be miserable. And if you're doing good work and you enjoy it and you know that it really makes a difference and it enables you to earn an income, that's Ikigai, isn't it? That Japanese term. And so it sounds like you have found your Ikigai now as a result of this.
Yeah, I call that my life purpose and professional purpose, which is
Mm,
some of the self transformation workshops I run and coaching
mm,
sessions. as well as not just career. Because I see your career is holistic, all of life. And if you pick the career that fits in with your personal aspirations and your personal life around you, you're more likely to enjoy your career and it to be part of all of you. Holistic view. So my coaching is around a holistic view, not just the job. How does it impact your mood? What are you doing with sleep? What impact has a bad job had on you and those around you, your loved ones? Can you imagine what an impact a good job would have on the loved ones around you? Because I've seen what it's like to be stressed. I've seen what it's like to be going really hard and fast and not nurturing myself enough. Now I've learned how to nurture myself, which I have to take responsibility for. I can say, oh, the job was busy. Well, hang on. I chose the jobs I went through. So all these amazing careers, I worked really hard. And sometimes I think I burnt myself out. But that was more me going harder and faster and doing too much in my life. Socially, exercise.
Yeah, and also it definitely affects your family and those around you too, because I've seen it happen so often, and even in my own relationships over the years, that happens. Because if you're chasing the corporate life and you're flying here and flying there and you're doing well and you want a promotion and you want more money and you want a better title, and sometimes the family gets left behind and they're there and not getting the nurturing that they may need. And I've seen relationships fall apart as a result of that. And I think when you have some sort of an epiphany or something that's like a wake-up call, which is what obviously you've had too, then you're able to realize, there is so much more to life. And you can take like what I like to call a life inventory of everything about your life as well as your career, because your career is only one part of your life. It's a big part of your life, but it's only one part of it to create that happiness. And so now you have this really interesting workshop that you'll be holding called, let me get the right name for it, Transforming Self Workshop. Tell us about your Transforming Self Workshop, Geoff.
Look, it's as an HR executive, I use some great facilitators to come in and help with culture change with executives. And I realised that this is the best culture change work I'd seen at an individual level, because you start at an individual level with self-transformation, then team transformation. So after my last retrenchment, I spent time to be credited in this, and I've used it a lot in my coaching. And I'm running the full workshop in March, which really helps people understand themselves first from a values perspective. Now, the thing about values is people go, that's great. I want to live my values more fully. So I want to get out of bed, live my values at work. So the workshop's not just about that. What's really interesting about the workshop, you also look at some of the values you've cherished and held tight to you over your career, over your life. And some of those values actually served a purpose to protect you from early traumatic experiences in our life. And allowing people to understand actually that value of perfectionism, or that value of hard work at all costs, or that value of being recognised, is actually a value that I stuck to because I wasn't getting enough of that in my early years. And so people have gravitated to overcorrect that and have been very successful in their career. But they've been very successful at something that no longer serves them, and they've satisfied. And then that gets in the way of our future growth. And if I can just be very simple, we talked about my father. And if you asked me the child question, so let's go back to childhood.
Yes.
Recognition for me was a really important value, but actually it ended up becoming a destructive value, because I realised my father, who was great, who loved me dearly, never said thank you for any hard work, never acknowledged us as kids, but he always very supportive of us. And so I've been craving this fatherly acceptance, and he was the best father ever, I realise. And I lived that through work, by high achievement, hard work, getting up the corporate ladder, doing great work. And even after he died, I was looking for that acknowledgement. And I was driven by that value, which actually got in my way. A lot of hard work, burnout, get ahead. And when I realized that through the self-transformation, the values, I was able to let go of that recognition. You're okay.
Mm.
done a pretty good job. Now, what do you really want to do that will be your legacy rather than please your father? And
Mm.
they were the aha moments I came up with. And the workshop helps people, not everyone's got their own experience, but understand what values have kept them safe and protected them, but no longer serve them,
Mm.
jettison them, and what's more self-fulfilling. And it's based largely on Maslow's hierarchy of needs that
Mm.
some of your viewers will be familiar with.
Yes. Yeah, that's right. And I think the important thing is that you're absolutely right. Over our lives, our circumstances change and the values that drive us change too. Because, when you're young, it could be, you want your first job because it's going to be fun, or maybe money is what's driving you. And then as you get a little bit older, it'll shift if you have children, or, you expand your family, and the priorities tend to change, don't they? And one thing I noticed a lot of was
Mhm.
because of COVID, over several years of COVID, what a huge shift there's been. Because, before, when I would coach people, they'd come to me because they want to get a promotion, they want a better salary, a larger salary, they want a better job title. But now people are coming to me because they have been reassessing the
Mm.
meaning of what they're doing. And I've noticed it's been a huge shift. I'm sure you've noticed that too with the clients that you work with, that it's people are looking for something a little bit different. So I think this transforming self workshop sounds like the perfect thing for so many people. And I highly recommend people sign up for it, because it's going to be on the 16th and 17th of March. It's in Sydney. And where will it be, Geoff?
It's at Moore Park Golf Course. They've got a
Mm.
conference centre, and I've done it on Saturday and a Sunday because a lot of
Mm.
people are working.
Yeah.
It includes coffee, morning tea, afternoon tea, and lunch. So it's a pretty relaxed, beautiful environment across the golf course, but very much an inward-looking workshop, so people can work out with a greater understanding and purpose. And we try to help people to get a, a, a personal or a professional purpose in life. And I can say to you, one of my purposes in life, and as a result of my traumatic experience, which has been a blessing actually, is I help people understand their full potential and live their life to their potential without risk of burnout and impacting others.
Mm.
And the latter bit is fairly recent to my purpose. And it's almost like, don't be like Geoff Martin, because I learned the hard way with my insight. Be more purposeful and be more productive without burning yourself out.
Yeah, yeah. And I think it'd be good to do it now. Don't wait for that thing to happen that is the wake up call. And I think the more authentic, each person can be with themselves as well as
Mm.
with others, the better it is. And I think too many people don't understand themselves well enough. So I'll have the link to register for this workshop in my show notes. So please hop over there and click and book in. But I think that it'll be a wonderful weekend, because just to be in Geoff's presence is warm and welcoming, and you learn so much from him, and he's had
Well, thank
such
you, Jane.
great experience. Yeah, it is. There's something about you that is very welcoming, and you're very knowledgeable, and you share your knowledge so generously. And I'm really happy that you came onto this podcast, because this conversation has been long overdue. I'm really really glad that you've shared your story, because it is inspirational. And the workshop, Transforming Self Workshop, sounds like a fantastic one too.
Look, I think if people can understand what makes them happy, and if people put themselves first from a nurturing point of view, a lot of us are brought up in life to be of support to others and help others. And one thing I've seen, and I've seen with carers to me when I was at my worst, is people uh, try to help others, but make themselves more exhausted. So if you nurture yourself first and be focused on your well-being first, you're going to be much more effective in helping others. So you have to be ruthlessly selfish to be awesomely selfless.
Oh, absolutely. Put on that oxygen mask, yes, as Brene Brown
Correct.
would say. And if you don't have your physical and mental health, how can you be good to anybody, including yourself? It's been a wonderful conversation, and I look forward to having you on the show again soon.
Thank you very much, Jane. I really look forward to talking with you as always.
If you enjoyed this episode of Your Career Podcast, I invite you to check out my Career Success Program at thecareersacademy.online. The Career Success Program is the original program that uniquely provides 24/7 on-demand career support and fortnightly live career coaching sessions to keep you on track to reach your career goals. It is the essential resource for anyone who wants to manage their career effectively, make a career change, and land the job they'll love. Whether you're in exploration mode or seeking a new career direction and need help to make it a reality, the Career Success Program is for you. Not only do you get access to my step-by-step roadmap to navigate your career crossroads, my extensive training library, and exclusive members-only discounts and tools, you'll also become part of my supportive community of professionals who will help you with feedback, encouragement, and advice. All this and more makes the Career Success Program the #1 place to be for anyone looking to start, manage, and grow their career. Check it out and join me at thecareersacademy.online.